Today's video is dedicated to Casey McClara. Thank you, Casey. Isshin 2 Heavens as 1 versus Marrow Gnawer, Esika and Nekusar. Just been up against a Nekusar player, I'm not sure if that's the same one. We have 3 lands and some ramp, but not the best. Yeah, we can't even get our commander out very quickly. Am I gonna regret shipping that one away? I mean, again, like I said in the last game, we're up against Nekusar and it's only a matter of time before we see a wheel, so I will keep that one, but it's not the best hand. I'd ship it back if it wasn't for the imminent wheels. Well, there's our black mana sorted out, so that does put us in Mardu territory now, because we can now tap this for black and the scrubland for white. And we draw into Dalman Gate, which means we can swing in freely. I will throw out a scrubland. And let's go for Mana Crypt, hope that we don't see any removal from either of these 2 players. And we'll throw out the Lightning Greaves as well. Mirror Pool for Nekusar, no doubt wanting to copy the wheels. Verdant Catacombs being cracked for a basic, which is unusual. But sending that into a Sol Ring, so maybe this is one of the 5 colour decks that is round full of basics. Don't tend to build them that way myself, but it is less risky. Does mean that you have to rely on cultivates and the like though. Nothing on turn 2 for Marrow Gnawer. So that's round to our turn. Another colourless land in Vault of the Archangel, unfortunately. So we can just drop that, go in for the Dalman Gate, which will prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to our attacking creatures. And we will have to pass at that, I think. Traveller's Amulet for Nekusar. And they haven't played a land yet. Okay, there we go. That is a mountain, so no doubt going to sacrifice the Traveller's Amulet, and there we go. Searching for a basic land, putting it into their hand. Crucible of Worlds, particularly useful when you've got a fetch in the bin, so they do play and crack the Verdant Catacombs again. And this time going for a Tricycle land. Seeing the first spell, and now seeing that it is a Relentless Rats deck, which we might have been able to guess. And we draw ourselves into a Fracture this time. Let's throw out the Handwear Battlements. Don't have to use that for haste, thankfully. And also, thankfully, we do have that Urborg in place, so we can actually get down our commander here. Wouldn't have been able to if it wasn't for that Urborg. Going to hold back the Isshin, because I have a feeling that a 3/3 Relentless Rats will want to swing in at us next turn if we don't. And I'm not confident that we're going to be able to gain a whole bunch of life to dodge the Nekusar player, so I will try and resist as much damage as possible. Playing the land that they tutored for previously. And we see some ramp in a Midnight Clock, which will be a one-sided wheel. Playing another Triome this turn, and then it is Explore, which can let them drop another land. And it is yet another Triome, so the colour's pretty much fixed here. They make another land next turn, and it's likely that they're going in for the Prismatic Bridge. Seeing the tribal land now, that is a Swarm Yard, so regenerate a rat for a tap. Then it is another Relentless Rats, as you would assume, so they both jump up to 3/3s, and they do have the regeneration held up as well. Although that was a wrong prediction by me, surprisingly not going in for attacks. I'm not sure why they wouldn't attack there. Thankfully keeping our Mana Crypt this whole time. There is a Goldspan Dragon, that's tempting. But I think I'll go for the Grave Titan here. Grave Titan got to enter with some zombie tokens and then attack straight away for 4 more zombie tokens. So we'll throw Lightning Greaves onto the Grave Titan. I think I'd rather protect the Grave Titan than our commander at this point. So we will swing in towards Esika with the Grave Titan. And then let's go at the Grixis player with the Isshin. And seeing the first trigger ever on this channel with the double triggers from Isshin. So ending the turn with 6 zombie tokens, which means it's 18 power for 6 mana from the Grave Titan. The Grixis player seemingly being helped by the Urborg as well. That is Alfarin Void. Now we see a Meteorite. That is 1 mana of any colour and 2 damage to a target when it enters. So just getting rid of a zombie here, I dare say. Not sure entirely why they wouldn't go for the Nekusar there. Maybe worried about a board wipe. This might be a Esika Super Friends, so there might be a lot of board wipes, unfortunately, which make it particularly difficult for us. Just waiting on them getting out their commander in the bridge so that we can fracture it. Sphinx of Athun coming into play now, and they will get a Fact or Fiction upon entry. Giving the choice over to the mono black player, a Vamp Tutor, Spark Double, Enlightened Tutor. Hopefully they don't take a Terminus. And double mana in a Mirari's Wake as well, putting the Terminus on its own to try and dissuade from it. Black player's obviously a creature-based deck as well, and they do take the 4 cards, ditching the Terminus. Throwing out a Jeweled Lotus after the fact, so we'll only have to discard 1 card as it stands now. Discarding the Enlightened Tutor to hand size. And the Midnight Clock is halfway to hitting midnight here. Now we see a No Mercy. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, destroy it. So, yeah, that's going to be tricky to deal with them, assuming that we can't get rid of this thing. I think we've got more pressing matters at the moment, though, which is famous last words, but, yeah, particularly worried about the Esika at the moment. We're down to 34, thanks to the Mana Crypt. And, alright, there's an Ankle Shanker. First Strike and Death Touch will make it difficult for our opponents to block. Yeah, and we actually can't go for the Goldspan Dragon, can we, thanks to the double red and the lack of mana, so yeah, I think it is just Ankle Shanker. Ankle Shanker doesn't benefit from our commander and the double triggers. We get Death Touch and First Strike twice, which doesn't do anything. But it does make it very difficult for our opponents to block, and we are a combat-based deck, so that is what we want. So I think I'm going to go all in. Yeah, go in on the Esika player, because I am the most worried about them. And if they do decide to block with the Sphinx, then so be it. First Strike and Death Touch will kill that, and it won't kill any of our stuff. We also couldn't have our creatures die in combat anyway, thanks to the Dolmen Gate, but the Ankle Shanker certainly helps us in that regard. So they block, no doubt. Okay, blocking our commander surprisingly, taking twice as much damage from the Grave Titan. Don't think it's commander damage they really need to worry about. So they go plummeting down to 13, lose their commander as well. Maybe they got into a board wipe. And it's noteworthy that the next time that it gets round to the Nekusar player's turn, the clock will hit 12 and they'll get their own wheel. We see Korvath's Fury. Friend or foe, each friend discards all cards in their hand and draws that many +1. And it deals damage to each foe equal to the number of cards in their hands. That would be 3 to us, or we draw 4. They decide to deal the damage to us. And this player drew 8. And the black player drew a fresh grip as well. Noteworthy that they discarded a Black Sun Zenith there, which they might have wanted to play next turn. Austere Command being discarded from the 5 colour player as well. So nothing to say that they didn't get into another board wipe, but yeah, they have just discarded one. Seeing a Lightning Greaves from Nekusar as well. Oh, and the 5 colour player scooping at that. That is curious. They don't know that the black player isn't about to wipe the board. I mean, the black player probably isn't because we're not going after them, but you never know. They clearly didn't get into another board wipe there. So seeing the Marrow Gnawer come into play, and we get into another white source, not a red source unfortunately, but what we can do is go Akroma's Memorial here. So losing those 2 board wipes to the Nekusar's wheel was particularly useful to us. We will reward the Nekusar player by swinging in with a huge chunk of evasive vigilance damage. They go plummeting down to 8. They are going to get that wheel here because the Midnight Clock hits 12. Actually end up losing a mana from that as well because this does get exiled. Transmute, going for a 3 mana spell, could be Toxic Deluge, although they'd have to sink a lot of their life into that, and then they just end up losing next turn as soon as we recast the Isshin. Okay, instead of Toxic Deluge, that is Last One Standing, and the creature chosen at random was a zombie, as it ought to be. There were like 12 of them in play or something. Return Isshin to the command zone, yes we will. So now we need to decide if we want to actually get rid of the Grixis player, because they are the one that is going to refill our hand. So yeah, I think it might be a good idea to leave them alive until they do give us a fresh grip. Either that or until we get into a mountain. Now for Exian Arena it's going to be potentially difficult to get rid of the Relentless Rats player. Well, there we go, we get into a red card, so don't think we can play both. Yeah, just going for Goldspan Dragon here, I think. We'll put Shroud onto our Goldspan Dragon before I forget. And then we can swing in our 6 damage in towards the Grixis player and leave them teetering, making a treasure token that will tap for 2 mana, so we can get our commander out again here as well. And then with that we can recast the Isshin. It's noteworthy that we do have protection from black, and we're about to go one-on-one with a black player, so hopefully the Akroma's Memorial will help us out on that front. Might actually hope that we don't get into a wheel before we manage to get the Fracture onto the No Mercy, but might be wishful thinking on that front. Another transmute, this time going for Perplex, and once again, if they even did want to go for the Toxic Deluge, then that wouldn't actually help them here with only 2 life. And they went in for a Yahenni, so can cast Yahenni, but it's not going to do them much good. Yeah, I was going to say, if they cast the Yahenni there, then I would have just left them alone and waited for that wheel, but obviously not wanting to help us here, so it's the Phyrexian Arena, and we just have to hope that they don't do anything to us here. We can go for the Fracture onto the No Mercy, but after that we're in top deck mode and just hoping that we can outrace them. The Marrow Gnawer being cast once again. Only 2 rats in play at the moment, of course. As well as the rats, we've obviously got the Mana Crypt to outrace as well, not being bolted by that, thankfully. And like I said, we do have Vigilance and Pro-Black, so yeah, it's not looking too good for my opponent. We will dump a Fracture onto the No Mercy so that we can start swinging in here. And then our mana concerns are no more as well, seemingly, thanks to the Smothering Tithe. A wheel no longer imminent now, of course, so wouldn't be as good as it might have been, but we'll swing in here. Straight over the top of the rats. The Goldspan Dragon triggers twice, so that nets us 4 mana, thanks to the treasures tapping for 2 apiece. The rat player's not out of it yet, thanks to the Phyrexian Arena. Another Relentless Rats from the Relentless Rats player, no surprise to anyone. And followed by another one, so they jump up to 4/4s. They do have Fear, but we've got a couple of black creatures in play. A Bad Moon gives them +1/+1, so 5/5 rats and a 3/4. So they could go wide on us if we're not very lucky. Noteworthy that the rats that come out will be 2/2s. And they're about to make a bunch of them at the end of the turn, I dare say. So I have to start making use of the Vault of the Archangel, I think. Especially seeing as how we just got bolted by the Mana Crypt. Alright, there's an Archon of Cruelty. So, yeah, be rude not to get that going, wouldn't it? Does have haste and vigilance, of course, thanks to the Akroma's Memorial, so hoping my opponent doesn't scoop it up here. Enters the battlefield and gets a trigger, much like the Titans. So this is target opponent sacks a creature or a planeswalker, discards a card and loses 3. We draw a card and gain 3 life. They sacrifice a Relentless Rats, as you would assume. Could have gone for sacrificing a Relentless Rats, made some tokens, and then sacked a token to this thing. Yeah, that's perhaps what they should have done. Anyhow, let's go for... Yeah, they've got a Croxer, or we've got a Croxer as well. Not too fussed about that at the moment. Let's activate the Vault of the Archangel. And then can swing everything in at my opponent. Get the Goldspan Dragon triggers, the Archon of Cruelty triggers as well. If they're going to activate the Marrow Gnawer, now is the time to do it. And just decided to scoop to that, that's what I was afraid of. So I think we had our opponent there. It's just a shame not to see the Archon of Cruelty, but let's see if the client will show us what we were drawing into. That is a Sol Ring and a land. Didn't make a land this turn, so drop that. Going for the Croxer, ready to escape at some point. Yeah, not sure about the Croxer. I mean, it's obviously hand disruption and our opponent losing life, so yeah, might keep that in there, might not. Pretty one-sided one this. Just know that if you're seeing this one, then it's because I either ran out of time or didn't get any better games than this one. If you want to see more from Isshin, it's proving to be a very popular one amongst the Commander community. If you want to see me play more of it, then be sure to let me know in the comments section. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.